Oh, you don't even know my name. You'd ask, but it's way, way too late.
Today we explored this abandoned trolley station and car barn in Ohio. This abandoned trolley station was home to Dayton's first streetcar rail line, built in 1869 by the Dayton Street Railway Company. It was the first mode of public transportation and operated horse-drawn streetcars. It was part of a larger complex that spread even across the street, but those buildings across the street are no longer. They were demolished many years ago, but this one still sits. In 1933, the first trolley coaches were introduced and bought by the Dayton Street Railway Company, only to have them burn up in a car barn fire at another facility in town. They did go on to operate trolley buses, and for that reason they changed their name to the Dayton Street Transit Company instead of Railway Company. In 1941, the City Railway Company was purchased by Dayton Street Car Company, and that company also purchased the People's Railway Company in 1945. The overhead lines we see today were introduced in 1947 and were operated with electric trolleys or electric buses. In 1956, they purchased all of the remaining private railway companies in the area. They changed their name to the City Transit Company. They were still privately owned at that point, until 1972, when the Public Miami Valley Regional Transit Authority was created, or the RTA as we know it today. About that same time, they built the new facility on Longsworth Street. Now this facility sits abandoned and forgotten. Let's head inside and check it out. So this trolley station had 5 bays that ran the length of the building. And at one point, there would have been railroad tracks that the trolleys ran on. But at some point, they paved over most of it. So many of them, there's no sign of those tracks anymore. There's doors that connect each of the bays. And as you can see, the brick is really starting to decay. At one point, after it was a trolley station and after that closed, it became a storage unit where someone put garage doors on each end, except for where there was brick. And you can see there, the brick is actually caving in. You can see right outside the building. Much of the things that were paid to store here are still here, like boats. The roof is gone from a huge portion of the bays, and you can see right to the outside. You can see they had fire doors, where if there was a fire in the building, it would drop that weight and this door would slide closed. That's why the doors were on an angle, the rails that is. Here's another area that they used for storage, and you can see there's a boat in here that at some point someone set on fire. It was last registered in 2012. It's hard to say what happened to the owner. We really enjoy making these videos, so if you enjoy them, please consider subscribing and turning on notifications by ringing that bell. There's just tons of stuff here where homeless people have taken over and lived on the inside. And back behind, and you can see it in the drone footage, there was a huge motocross track. So you'll find a lot of old dirt bike and four-wheeler parts. Like here, lots of dirt bike fenders, a four-wheeler gas tank. Looks like from the 80s and 90s. Even a halfway decent looking lawnmower. But as you can tell, there's definitely homeless activity here. But the best part's still to come. Let's head up to the front. Here's one last bay. There's very limited graffiti here, which is surprising. As we head up front, here's a bathroom with 2 stalls, or 2 urinals, then some stalls. There's some graffiti in this part of the building, but the farther we get up front, the more untouched it gets. Watch out, the floors might not be great on the second floor. So this room would have been the scheduling room. And as you can see, there's this huge board here that's leaned up. It actually would have been on poles, probably in the middle of the room, but we're not really that sure. But you can see the old stenciling of the lettering. The woodwork is really beautiful. And you can see the schedules were dinner. I'm not really sure. Dinner, Division 1, Division 2, General, and then supper, which is interesting. Some of the bulletin boards are gone, but some are still here. And this information looks very old. It actually says 1975. But stay tuned, the best is still to come. It's like walking back in time. Makes me wonder how many drivers would come in here every day to check their schedules. This was the Ohio Transit Company, but I believe it changed a few different names over the years. We're here with HBC Films. Let's head down to the basement. There's water still running. And there's a crawl space running the length of the building. Old stone foundation. I'm not exactly sure when this building was built, but I believe it was most likely late 1800s. Or early 1900s. We've got an old cashier's window. Sadly, the window's been broken. And this would have been the front entrance to the building. Before we head upstairs, let's check out the other side of the cashier's windows. This door says, "No admittance." And you can see the old subway tile. Think about how many people paid their bills or bought a ticket from that window. It's really humbling. There are lots of safes in this building. This is the only one that has a door missing. But every single one of them looks like somebody's tried to pry it open. But little did they know, it's filled with concrete on the back side of the door. So you'd have to go through both skins of metal and the concrete in the middle. The trim is beautiful and very tall ceilings. Probably 12 foot tall. The floors are not in the greatest shape in this part of the building. And you can see an effort was made to stabilize or add a portion onto the building because there's some newer block back in there. But for the most part, the rest of it is all original and old. I wish we knew what year this place closed, but my guess, based on the paperwork we found inside, was the 70s. Let's head upstairs. A long hallway. These banisters are beautiful. You can see the decorative woodwork. Even more safes. People think they can just cut the hinges off them. But you can't. It's a safe. They would have thought of that. What's odd is this place is so deteriorated, but yet it still has the thermostat protected. But it's not hooked up. Somebody cut the wires. You can see it's basically wide open. Lots of windows. One of my favorite things about this building is it still has these beautiful doors in some cases with these beautiful closers in good shape, and the door stops. What's crazy is they still function. They still function. So they don't build them like that anymore. Another safe in this room. It's hard to say why they had so many safes, But you can see where somebody has taken the trim, which is sad. But this woodwork, look how thick that door frame is. They just don't make them like that anymore. And that was some good stain and polyurethane, because even with this place being open, it's still in good shape. Somebody tried to pry that one open, as you can see. Again, the woodwork is super thick. 4 and 5 inches wide throughout. I wish we could find some pictures of this place on the inside in its heyday. Headed back down the hallway. Let's head up to the attic while we're at this portion of the building. You can see someone has gutted all the electrical over the years. Again, wide open. Paperwork strewn throughout, including how to get bus rides and how to use the City Transit Company. Follow us on Instagram and on Facebook. Instagram is occupied and Facebook is once occupied. And there are links in the description of this video. And I'll post lots more pictures there, as well as on the website at onceoccupied.com. Here's an old map of the city. Here's an old map of the city before one of the major interstates was put in, Route 35. It's like 1,000 degrees up here, so let's head back downstairs. We have the blue room. And you can see the top of the windows where the brick was arched for strength. So the doorways downstairs, you can see the arch that was used. Sadly, people have been spray painted the windows. But thankfully, they didn't spray that much of the woodwork. You can see here, this window actually completely fell in. So there's the window, or the window opening, and there's the entire window and the frame. Just fell in. The paint here is super beautiful. It's definitely lead, so you're going to want to mask up when you come to a place like this. You can see this floor is in not the greatest shape. And again, you can see right outside, the windows have failed. This whole room's floor feels like a trampoline. It bounces when you step on it. Definitely avoid that area. Or even better, don't go urban exploring. Just watch our videos and other people that make videos. There's lots of good creators on YouTube that do the same thing we do. So I believe this is the foreman's office. And the reason I think this is the foreman's office is because it has windows that look out. And if you stand and look out those windows, you can see into this hallway. So each of these windows looks down into those bays where the trolleys would come through. So this part of the building is in the worst shape. And it looks like it has some of the most modern architecture. So it was an original part of the building, but you can see they actually added their own drop ceiling, not a wire, actually out of 2x4s, hanging from the original. And then they also framed in some walls, like this wall and that arched wall. None of that was original. This building would have never had plaster, or would have never had drywall. It would have had plaster. So this part of the building is not in great shape. I've walked through here enough times. I've determined the right path to go so that I don't fall through the floor. But I definitely don't recommend people walking through buildings with floors like that. This is a second way to get down into the bays where the trolleys would come through. But I don't think this wall was original either. I think originally there was no door and there was no wall. None of this would have been here. And this hallway would have just been open from downstairs and you would have walked up. You can see the beautiful old woodwork here. And this, you would have not had any wall above it. It would have just been open. But with heating costs, I can see why they wanted to insulate and add some walls. I can't imagine trying to heat or cool this place. It's huge. So this is the end of the building. This is where it stops. And you can see that people probably lived here for a while. It's full of clothes and bedding. But even this area is in too bad a shape to live in, even for homeless. Look at that tie. So let's head back downstairs and check out the few parts of the building I missed. So this room still has the original doors that someone took off of each doorway at some point. And they're in really good shape. And it's just odd to see so many very nice doors in good shape in a building like this. One of them even has a piece of paper taped to it that says vault. You can see this room has seen better days. It's hard to find a path. There's ivy growing. Don't forget, not an exit. That's an important sign. Okay, so let's go find the guys and get out of here. If you guys like this video, don't forget to subscribe, hit the like button, share it on social media, and as always, be safe out there.